Hello again. I am Teacher Julie, and this is our English practice time online. Today we want to practice a little more with where do you live or where does she live. So I'll pull up our lesson and we'll get started. Let's play from the beginning. Where do you live? Where do you live? Where do you live? In a house. I live in a house. Where do you live? An apartment. In an apartment. I live in an apartment. Where do you live? A duplex. In a duplex. I live in a duplex. Please hear in a. In a. The words come together. I live in a duplex. I live in a duplex. Where do you live? A townhouse. A townhouse. In a townhouse. I live in a townhouse. I live in a townhouse. Where do you live? A room. In a room. I live in a room. I live in a room. I live in a room. Where do you live? Downtown. I live downtown. Remember to say the N's. Downtown. You must finish the word. Do not say downtown. I will not understand you. Finish the word. Say the first sound and the last sound. Downtown. I live downtown. Where do you live? Downtown Edmonton. I live downtown Edmonton. Or I live in downtown Edmonton. Both are good. I live downtown Edmonton is okay. I live in downtown Edmonton is probably a little more okay. It's better, but both are acceptable. Both are good. I live in downtown Edmonton. I live downtown Edmonton. Okay, okay. Where do you live? Do you live in a neighborhood? Edmonton has, many, many neighborhoods. The word is neighborhood. Neighborhood. A neighborhood is a small part of a big city. Neighborhoods. A country has provinces, but a city has neighborhoods. Where do you live? The suburbs. Suburbs are the neighborhoods that are away from downtown. They're far from downtown. Suburbs, 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 herbs, suburbs. I live in the suburbs. I hope you are repeating what I say. This is for you to practice listening and speaking. Where do you live? Houses. I live where there are many houses. 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 These are plural. I have added S to the end. House is one. Houses, 2, 3, 10. Houses. And here I have 2 syllables. Okay? House is. Houses. 1 house, 2 houses. What are they? How many are there? Duplexes. Duplexes. 1 duplex, 2 duplexes. Duplex is. Duplex is. Duplex is. There are many duplexes in my neighborhood. What do you see? Where do they live? Apartments. Apartments. There are many apartments downtown. There are many apartments downtown. Ah, what do we see? Where do you live? Rooms. Rooms. I pay money for some rooms. For some rooms. We have 3 rooms. Where do you live? Townhouses. Townhouses. Okay, you will live in 1 townhouse. Maybe I tell you I live across from the townhouses. Across from the townhouses. Okay, a little reminder about our pronouns. Okay, my name is Julie. I am a teacher. I. Your name is. You are a student. We means me and you. We are happy. They are not happy. He is 1 man. Okay? He. If there are 2 men, I will say they. They is plural. It means 2 or more people. Is 1 man. She, 1 woman. And it, 1 cat, 1 phone. What else can I do with it? 1 pen. It is blue. These are our pronouns. We use pronouns to go short, so we do not have to say people's names again and again and again. Remember that the verb live looks like this. I live, you live, we live, they live, he lives, she lives, it lives. Remember the verb live has a short I. It sounds like in, I, in, live, 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 in. It's the same sound, short I, I, live. I live, you live, we live, they live. He lives, she lives, it lives. Eh, just like in, lives. Eh. I still hear long I, live, live. Live is an English word, but it is different than live. Today, we need short I, eh. The do verb. I do, you do, we do, they do, he does, she does, it does. He, she, it need an S at the end. Because do ends in an O, we use ES in English. When a word ends in a vowel, usually O, we use ES. ES. Remember that in a sentence, when there are two verbs, the second verb does not change. You do not add S. So in the question, where does she live? Does is the first verb. Live is the second verb. Does is the first verb. We add S or ES for does. But live, the second verb, does not need S with she. Second verbs, no changes, no S. The sentence, she lives in Edmonton, live is now the first verb. We need to add S for she. She lives in Edmonton. First verb needs the S. Second verb does not need an S. I will ask a question. You speak the answer. Where does she live? Where does she live? She lives in a duplex. She lives in a duplex. Where do we live? It's kind of a problem if you need to ask, where do we live? Where do we live? I don't know. Where do we live? We live in a room. We live in a room. Where does he live? He lives in the apartments. He lives with S because of he. He lives in the apartments. Where does it live? It lives in a house. It lives in a house. Where do you live? I. Answer begins with I. I live in the suburbs. I live in the suburbs. You are, ER, and IR all say er, er. I live in the suburbs. Where do they live? They live downtown. Where do the girls live? They. They live in an apartment. They live in an apartment. The girls live in an apartment. It's another good answer. Both are good answers. Where do the girls live? They live in an apartment. That's good. The girls live in an apartment. Good. Neighborhood. Where does Jack live? He. He lives in a neighborhood. Neighborhood. He lives in Mill Woods. Jack lives in Mill Woods. 3 good answers. Where does Samia live? She. She lives in some rooms. She lives in some rooms. Remember the S on lives with she. She lives in some rooms. Where do the students live? They. They live in a townhouse. They live in a townhouse. Where do you live? I live in the duplexes. I live in the duplexes. Remember when the question is you, where do you live? Your answer is I, right? So, where do you live? I live in the duplexes. Where do the families live? They live in the townhouses. They live in the townhouses. Now there is some writing practice. I know I told you there was no writing. Surprise! There is writing today. Please write your answers in your notebook. Take a picture and send to teacher. You can send the picture on WhatsApp or by email. So, for the writing, you will stop the video and write. Okay? Stop and write. Stop and write. Teacher will show you the slides, but you will need to stop the video and write in your notebook. Okay? The answers are after the writing when we do more reading and speaking. Okay. Number 1, please write the sentences in your notebook. Fill in the blank. Write the words you need. Stop the video. Number 2, stop. Number 3, stop the video. Number 4, stop. Number 5, stop. Number 6, stop. Number 7, stop. And number 8, stop. Now we will speak the questions and the answers. These are the same as the writing, so you will see the right answers. But finish your writing first, then we will do the speaking. Number 1, please read and speak the question. Where does she live? She lives in an apartment. Where do they live? They live in a duplex.